That'd be cool.
Why is it when I eat carbs, I sometimes feel the energy 18 hours later?
Depends on what you ate with the carbs. There's a thing called transit times. And what a transit time is the amount of time it takes something to pass from your stomach into the rest of your digestive system.
So the cheese slows it down?
The cheese slows it down. Your stomach will not open up until everything inside is digested. So if you've got cheese in there, which takes about 6 to 8 hours to digest, a dairy product, or if you've got, the worst is probably shrimp or lobster, it takes about 12 hours to digest.
Really?
Your stomach won't allow that to pass until all of that is digested. So your stomach will stay shut. The sphincter there, there's a little sphincter in there. That'll stay shut for 12 hours.
And because of the cholesterol?
Because of the lobster.
Wow.
What part of it is...
Well, the proteins are very dense, and when you cook them, they become very, very caramelized and very difficult to process. Now, you've got some pasta in there, which is starches.
Would that go for raw shrimp and raw lobster also?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a little less so, because they're less, when you cook them, they become even harder to digest, but it's still a very dense protein, and not a healthy protein.
Well, isn't a nut a pretty dense item?
Nuts are, but when raw fruits eat nuts, you soak them first. You don't eat just dry nuts. You have to soak them so you activate the enzymes, break down some of the dense proteins, and eliminate some of the denser fats. And you can dehydrate them after soaking so they're crunchy again.
Yeah.
Mix in a little Himalayan salt or something, so before you put them in the dehydrator, it makes them very tasty. I like to do that with almonds a lot. That's my snack of choice. So all that's now sitting in your digestive system with the simple sugars that are breaking down from the carbohydrates and anything that actually had actual glucose sugar in it already, or fructose if you had some fruit in there. And so now it's all sitting in there for 12 hours at 98.6 degrees. You've got carbs, like hops. There's a carb, proteins in the hops. Proteins are in there, and sugars are in there. What's going on? Your stomach is now a still. Everybody that eats that way has a process going on when they eat heavy meats and fish called auto-intoxication, where there's a little bit of alcohol being created right in your gut after you eat. So you go home and what do? You know that? We're all alcoholics. That process is addictive. Some of the chemicals in there that form from the cookie actually resemble the chemical structure of opiates. And what does that do? It goes into the receptors in the brain for opiates and dopamine and serotonin and stuff like that, blocking normal serotonin and dopamine uptake, and making you a little bit addicted to them and a little bit stoned. Big pasta meal, go home and what do? Right in front of the TV, right? Except during the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So, I believe it's very important for us to understand these processes. And it's fun to get into some of the technology, the new things we're discovering about them, and stuff like that, but to give ourselves, to empower ourselves with information to be able to understand the process and be able to better cope with it. We're all going to have our ups and downs. We have different levels of addictions, different way of handling addictions, different way of handling emotional and physical stresses, different ability to resist the withdrawal symptoms associated with those different things, different family ties and support systems around us that make that holistically more or less difficult for some people than others. That's what I mean, whole fruit, whole bean. We know that this is a direction we want to move in. But to move in that direction effectively means changing a lot more than, just one day saying, oh, raw fruit sounds good. There's a process involved. And the more we understand that process, the better able we are to deal with the difficulties we'll inevitably encounter. Not that you'll overcome every difficulty, but you can approach a difficulty with more commitment and understanding. So that's my role, is to make that easier for you. then, answer some of your other questions. So that's the end of my basic talk and about how I teach and quantum biology. We're going to get more into specifics of quantum biology as time goes on. I just want to point out one more thing. My proof of the existence of quantum biology, my ultimate proof that quantum biology is running the show and it's going to change the world for the better, unless Nestle gets a hold of it.
What you say?
Chocolate
Nestle?
chip cookies.
What is it? Nestle applies quantum mechanics to optimize food, taste, texture, and nutrition. The corporate oligarchy is going to corrupt quantum mechanics now. We just discovered that it's good for us when we eat raw food because there's quantum mechanics operating. They're going to figure out a way to make quantum tunneling make food taste better when it's not good for you. That's exactly what they've done with everything. They've corrupted it. They've taken things that are good in broccoli, took it out of the broccoli, and put it into ketchup, which is all corn syrup. They wave a tomato at the damn thing. There's no tomatoes in it. They wave a tomato at the ketchup. Some of this ketchup made in China has almost no tomatoes left in it anymore. Plus, they shipped it from China. So the carbon footprint of that tomato is bigger than your house. That little tomato can of tomato crap has a carbon footprint as big as a steamship. Thousands of organic vegetables. I'm going to rant for a second because I've just been on this rant on Facebook. Read my Facebook page. We become friends. I've got a very detailed Facebook page turning out. I didn't know I was going to like Facebook so much. I'm spending way too much time on Facebook. That's why I wasn't prepared for this, because I should have done this last night. It was on Facebook last night, telling everybody about how Whole Foods is corrupting the nation. I've hated Whole Foods for years, and I've been ranting about them for years. So somebody had this little post about how they were reading the fine print on the vegetables in their freezer. And they found out that their California garden vegetable mix from Whole Foods 360 Organic brand, is made in China. Organic food grown in China. Don't even talk about the organic standards in China. Whole Foods says they check it out. They have this independent company. Their independent company doesn't exist in China. If you dig with them, they say, well, we have another company do it, but they don't tell you who. They don't tell you. So we don't, but don't even think about that. Forget about Tibet. Forget about Tibet. Who cares about Tibet? Besides the Dalai Lama and people like me, tree huggers. Forget about child labor, forced prison labor. Forget about 50 cents an hour wages under horrendous conditions. Forget about the totalitarian society that's so totally corrupt that, and we owe them they own our economy now. Forget about Walmart. They own the entire economy now. Since Barack Obama, I'm sorry if you voted Barack Obama, I hate to tell you he's a socialist, and he got us into China even deeper than we were. 10 times more debt than George Bush put us in. 10 times. For the foreseeable future. Ongoing into your grandchildren's children. To pay it off. Huh?
How do you figure that?
You have to look at his
What
budget.
happened for the last 8 years before Obama got there?
It was this big.
What about the part that he didn't pay for when he was president?
Obama put together with Clinton.
He's paying for what he didn't pay. George Bush didn't pay for. He didn't pay for the
He
war.
went-
He didn't pay for the other war.
But what they did,
He didn't pay for anything.
look
It was never put in the budget.
Go online and study the budget.